Hey everybody, my name is Alex Buriak. I'm the Senior Vice President over here at Jet Lending. And today, what I'm going to go over is how hard money works. Now, what is hard money? Well, let's define that. Okay, so people use hard money to buy investment real estate because hard money collateralizes against the hard asset, which is the property. So it's not about income or anything like that. It's does the property stand by itself? Does the borrower have enough in liquidity to pay their interest payments and do the repairs and get reimbursed on draws? And if they're coming out of pocket at closing, do they have that? Because I'm going to show you how to be $0 out of pocket on a deal because basically investment real estate's math. So the reason why I do these videos on financing is because if you understand how your money works better, you'll be able to negotiate your purchase price better. And let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're going to actually go through some numbers so you guys can start understanding the math of your financing so you can buy properties better. Okay, so I'm going to share this screen here. So first thing we have to consider, there's three major variables in the start of purchasing an investment property. There is the purchase price right here. There's your repair budget, and there's your estimated after repaired value. Now, all these three have to coincide with each other to get, project your profit margins. We're going to go through that today as we do the math. But there's only one variable that you can control. Okay, you can't control how much the property is going to be, how much it's going to cost to fix the property. Okay, that's going to be dictated by your labor and the materials and the finishes that you do. Okay, you can't change the after repaired value. You can't change what it's going to be worth as the market dictates that. You guys may have seen, as you go through 2019 to end of 21 and 22, values are going right up, and then all of a sudden, they kind of plateaued off. That same appreciation trend wasn't going up. So you can't choose, how much it's going to be worth. The market dictates that. The only thing you can determine is purchase price. Okay, so that's the one thing you control. So we're going to go over the math on how the financing works so you can understand how you need to buy these properties and how your money works if you're going to be coming out of pocket at closing or not. So let's just pick some numbers here. Let's say you're going to buy a property for about $200,000. Okay. So let's say the property is going to be worth $430,000 when it's fixed up. Let's say this property is just banged up. That's why you're getting such a good deal. Okay, that's why people use hard money lenders, because we can basically the property is currently not on fire. So that's what the kind of distressed properties you get. So let's say you're going to do about $100,000 worth of repairs and finishes of this property. For a $430,000 property, let's say taxes are 3.5%. Let's say it's about $15,000 a year, and I'll show you why you want to understand that as your finances go. All right. We'll add $100,000 to escrow, and I'll tell you why in a second. So I lend up to 70% of the after repaired value. Okay. That's the 301 you see here. Okay. Now I'll close and fund up to 70% of the after repaired value minus the repair amount at closing, the $100,000. So I'm going to lend $201,000 at closing. Right now, you're averaging at 3 points of origination at 11.9% interest-only payments. Now, for the unseasoned investor, you're like, wow, that's really expensive. People use hard money lenders and private money lenders for speed, because we close within 3 days from clear to close from title and appraisal report. And that's probably why you negotiated this deal so low, because it was a fast closing. This is a price of doing business. I'm going to show you how it doesn't really affect your profit margins. Rate and term never dictate your profit margins. If they do, you bought it wrong. I'm going to show you how. Okay. So when you scroll down here, the origination fee is about $9,030. That's paid at closing. Okay. It costs about $375 for that went up for pulling your legal docs when you close. Only when you close. It'll be on your settlement statement. We also try to estimate what title is going to charge you. This is not a lender fee, but you have to understand when you're using a lender, there's going to be fees outside of your lender. That's going to be mostly title fees. Estimate about $4,500 for that. Now, you're not going to know that until you get your settlement statement. You may have a great deal with the title company, like, oh, forget about it. We're going to do X amount of percent. But we like to let you know, hey, be prepared for this. Okay. Processing fees are $1,150. That pulls your flood certs and all your certifications and moving your loan through processing and legal and all that kind of stuff like that. Okay. Let's see. So your total closing cost on this deal was $15,070. Okay. But what you're bringing to closing is $14,070. And let me show you why. Because you bought this property for $200,000. And I lent $2,001 at closing. Let me show you what you would need to do to be zero out of pocket. So if you bought this for $185, we scroll down here, you can see this is green now. If you buy for $185 and I can lend up to $201, that means I could roll in all your closing costs, and that's how you come out of pocket zero at closing. That's when you hear, no money down. That's how, because you bought it so low. We lend against a spread, not a loan to cost. So you'll see a lot of lenders will say, well, we'll go up to 75% or we'll go up to 80% after repaired value, but you're at 80 or 90% loan to cost at closing, okay, against the purchase price or the as-is value, whatever's less. When you have a true loan to value lender, you lend like this. Both structures are useful, okay? So don't get me wrong. People, especially outside of Texas, most outside of Texas is loan to cost. Even we do loan to cost outside of Texas. So just be prepared. If it's straight loan to value, that's when you can become $0 out of pocket at closing. And this is how you do it. All right. If you did it this way, this is what your lender or a lender like me would want to see. I'd want to make sure that you could pay, not that we're going to take the money out, but you could pay for 10 months of interest payments. You had 40% of your repair budget somewhere in your liquidity. That's friends and family, checking and savings, 401ks, self-directed IRA, whatever liquidity you have, just so you have access to it so you can keep the project moving and you can pay your interest payments. And then we'd want to see any dollar amount outside of, that you pay outside of at closing. I'd want to make sure you have that because you need that day one to close the property. So a lender is supposed to analyze your deal, evaluate the risk, and say, listen, is the property risky? Is the borrower risky? And the borrower is only risky when, you have liquidity issues mainly. No lender should put you in a deal that you're going to fail in 3 months because you can't afford the interest payment. So just be aware of that. Making sure we have all the right stuff, making sure that you're in a good position, whether you're doing one loan with Jet Lending or 5 loans with Jet Lending. We have plenty of people that do multiple loans at once with Jet Lending. We make sure they're appropriately leveraged so they don't get into a bad spot. Okay. So when I go here and if you could say, I change that back to 200,000, our initial variable. And when I come down here, I'll go to the deal analyzer. So let's say you fix up the property and this is a flip. And this is where I can tell you that interest payments and points don't affect your profit margins when you buy it right. Okay. So let's say $100,000 in repairs. Let's say you on average have $7,500 a week. So divided by 7,500, that's about 13.3 weeks. So let's call it 14 weeks. Okay. In repairs. Okay. So 14 divided by 4, that's 3.5 months. All right. Repairs are done, 3.5 months. Then you put it on the market. Let's say it's sat for 60 days. So that's 5.5 months. So let's call it 6 months. Let's say you're in this deal, you're humming 6 months. Well, what I'm going to make sure is, as a business person myself, I want to make sure any dollars out, you have to pay your business that back to get net profits. Okay. So I'm going to make sure that you pay that $4,239.08 every month you have out. You pay it back to yourself to make sure, what are you netting? You got to have utilities on. You guys, people with, all their saws and all that kind of stuff, your people need utilities. You got to put a gas stove in, gas is going to have to be on at one point. You got to have people be able to use the electric if it's there. So let's say it's a bigger house, $200 a month. Okay. Let's say that we have a buyer's and seller's agent. That's profit out. So you have to make sure you pay yourself back 6%. Okay. So, and let's say we sold it for $430. Let's say this property had an HOA fee of $50 a month. Got to pay yourself that back. Let's say you didn't do a seller's contribution. Would you be out of pocket about $15,000 to make $55,745.50? And that's paying yourself back the monthly payments. That's paying yourself back your utility bills. That's paying yourself back your HOA fees. It's paying us off as Jetland. You're paying the 301 back. You're paying your closing costs back. You're paying everything back. Your second closing cost, because usually the seller pays the second closing cost. So are you paying all this back? Let's say you had a hard time. You did a 3% seller's contribution. Would you make $42,000? Coming out of pocket about $14,000 at closing. Some yes, some no. It depends on how you structure your business plan. My job is to give you option and to show you how the math works so you can be better prepared to negotiate and do volume on this. So that is just how hard money works in a nutshell. So as you can see on loan to value lending, you could be out of pocket, you could be $0 out of pocket, and you could be doing flips. You could be buying a property just to fix up and then refinance into our 30-year programs later. There's another video on how the 30-year program works. Let us know what you're trying to do. This was a brief overview of finance math for hard money. It's not meant to be all encompassing, but it gives you a good idea on how you need to structure this. A good rule of thumb on a loan to value loan, if you want to be $0 out of pocket, you would purchase the property 65% of the projected after repaired value, minus the repair amount would be your top purchase number if you needed to be $0 out of pocket to make the financing work for this deal. Any dollar amount over that is one more dollar you'd have to come out of pocket at closing. So when you're using this quick math in your head and you're negotiating, you have a contract with you when you go see a house, you try to lock that property down right there. And if you need help strategizing or going over the math or anything like that, that's why we're here. We'll comp the properties for you. We do it for everybody before you do an appraisal. Say, yeah, you know what? I think it is 430. Like, you know what? I think you're 396, and this is why. You are on a hard corner where there is a commercial property adjacent to your property, or you're on a busy street. Busy streets, you deduct 20% of the subdivision value if you don't have enough comps on the busy street. Little things like that, knowing about what would be considered an appraisal, an economic obsolescence, anything that drops the value of the property down. So hope this helped. Get with us at Jetland. You can chat us up on social media on our website. You could email us, info@jetlending.com. You can call us, 281-872-7800. You can text us from that number if you don't like calling the people, whatever you need. And we'll be there for you. We really hope to hear from you. Really hope to see if we can help you be successful. And we will continue to pump out more education videos to help you out. And we hope